97% of people will never achieve true wealth and success. They follow the same routines, think the same way, and settle for mediocrity, yet they wonder why they're stuck. What if the only thing keeping you from breaking free and joining the top 3% is a simple shift in mindset? What if the key to financial freedom, personal growth, and limitless opportunities isn't about working harder, but thinking differently? Today, I'm going to show you why you must walk away from the habits, beliefs, and limitations that keep the majority trapped, so you can step into a future of wealth, success, and complete control over your life. Here's my advice for you today. Step away from the 97%. Most people don't fail due to a lack of talent or intelligence. They fail because they follow the wrong crowd. They observe what the majority is doing and assume that's the right way to live. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, where does that path actually lead? Look at the results. If success is your goal, you can't simply go with the flow, because the flow is leading most people toward frustration and regret. Success isn't magical or mysterious. It's the natural outcome of consistently applying fundamental principles. Just as planting seeds in fertile soil, watering them, and providing sunlight leads to a harvest, success follows a process of cause and effect. The issue is that most people want the harvest without planting the seeds. They seek wealth without discipline, growth without learning, and progress without change. But life doesn't work that way. If you follow the habits of unsuccessful people, you'll get the same results they do. On the other hand, if you adopt the practices of successful individuals, you'll achieve similar outcomes. I learned this lesson the hard way. At 25, I was broke, drowning in debt, and full of excuses. I believed successful people had some kind of advantage that I lacked. I thought they were just lucky, born into the right circumstances, or had connections I didn't. Then I met a mentor who completely shifted my perspective. He told me your bank account reflects your past choices. Your health, your relationships, and your success, they're all the result of what you've been doing every single day. That realization hit me hard. My struggles weren't caused by the economy, my background, or external circumstances. They were a result of my daily habits, my mindset, and my decisions. I had been planting the wrong seeds, and I was simply reaping what I had sown. That's when I discovered something powerful. Change begins with a single decision. Not 10, not 20, just one. The decision to take control, to stop making excuses, and to accept responsibility. Responsibility can be a tough pill to swallow, but it's also the most liberating choice you can make, because if you caused your problems, then you also have the power to fix them. If you built a life of struggle, you can build a life of success. The moment you decide to change, everything shifts. Yet here's what most people do. They wait. They wait for the perfect time, the right opportunity, or a sign from the universe. They tell themselves, I'll start when I have more money, or I'll begin when things settle down, or I'll change when the timing is right. But let me tell you, there is no perfect time. The stars will never fully align, and the ideal moment will never magically appear. You must decide right now that change is necessary, that it's time to do things differently, to break free from the habits and thought patterns that have been holding you back. Success isn't some mysterious force that randomly selects its winners. It's simply the result of making the right choices, taking action, and developing discipline. If you're not where you want to be, don't sit around waiting for a miracle. Make a decision, plant the right seeds, and start moving in a new direction, because one thing is certain: those willing to put in the effort will eventually see the results. One of the most powerful lessons I learned early on is that the people you surround yourself with will shape your future in ways you may not even realize. It's like an invisible force pulling you in a direction, whether you're aware of it or not. If you spend time with people who complain, who blame external factors for their lack of success, who believe that only the lucky ones make it, guess what? You'll start thinking like them, talking like them, and ultimately living like them. But if you surround yourself with individuals who are focused, disciplined, and committed to growth, their mindset will inevitably influence you as well. I remember when I was struggling, trying to understand why nothing was working for me. My income was low, my motivation was even lower, and I felt stuck. Then someone asked me a simple but powerful question: who are you listening to? That question changed everything. I took a step back and realized that the people around me weren't living the kind of life I aspired to. They were just as lost, just as frustrated, and just as broke as I was. That's when it hit me. I had been taking advice from people who had never been where I wanted to go. And that was my first mistake, so I made a change. I started seeking out people who were ahead of me, those who were winning, those who had the mindset and habits I needed to adopt. At first, it was uncomfortable. They thought differently, spoke differently, and expected more, not just from themselves, but from me. They didn't allow excuses. They didn't tolerate mediocrity. And that's when I learned a crucial truth. Growth is uncomfortable, but so is staying the same. The real question is, which discomfort are you willing to endure? There are two types of pain in life, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And only one of them lasts forever. Discipline is uncomfortable, waking up early to work on your goals, reading instead of watching TV, investing instead of spending. It's not always easy, but what's the alternative? Waking up 10 years from now, wishing you had started sooner, regretting the opportunities you let slip away. That pain is far worse because while temporary discomfort can be overcome, regret offers no second chances. I once met a man who told me years ago I had the chance to invest in a business. I had the money, but I hesitated. Today, that company is worth millions, and he's still in the same job, wondering what could have been. That's the price of hesitation. That's the cost of staying comfortable. So choose wisely. Choose your environment, choose your circle, choose the discomfort that leads to growth instead of the pain of looking back, wishing you had done more. Because in the end, you either endure the short-term struggle of discipline or the lifelong burden of regret. And that decision is yours alone. If there's one thing that separates those who achieve wealth and success from those who don't, it's their commitment to learning, not just occasionally, not just when it's convenient, but for life. The wealthy never stop learning. They don't assume they already have all the answers. They seek them. They don't wait for wisdom to find them. They actively pursue it. If you want to change your life, you must first change what you know. And to change what you know, you must become a student of success. I remember when I was just starting out, struggling to make ends meet, I believed that hard work alone was enough. I thought that if I just put in the hours, did my job, and waited patiently, things would improve. But month after month, nothing changed. I was stuck. And then one day, someone handed me a book. And that book opened my eyes. It taught me that success isn't just about working harder. It's about working smarter. It's about learning new skills, adopting the right mindset, and surrounding yourself with the right ideas. That's when I realized I've been looking at success the wrong way. The wealthy don't just work, they study. They read books, attend seminars, and seek mentors. They don't assume they know everything. They stay curious. And that curiosity leads to transformation. Because the truth is, if your mind doesn't grow, neither will your life. If your knowledge stays the same, your income, your opportunities, and your results will stay the same too. That's why the most valuable investment you can make isn't in the stock market. It isn't in real estate. The greatest investment you can make isn't in the stock market or real estate. It's in yourself. But here's the challenge. Most people stop learning after school. They graduate, get a job, and assume they're done. They settle into a routine and wonder why nothing changes. But learning isn't a one-time event. It's a daily habit. Because every single day, you're either growing or falling behind. The world is evolving rapidly. Industries are shifting. Opportunities are changing. And if you're not learning, you're getting left behind. That brings me to your most valuable asset, time. You can lose money and earn it back. You can miss an opportunity and find another one. But time, once it's gone forever. Yet most people treat time as if it's unlimited. They waste it on distractions, on things that don't matter, and then wonder where the years went. But successful people, they treat time like gold. They use it wisely. They don't waste it on gossip, negativity, or things that don't push them forward. They understand that every minute is a choice. You either invest it in your future or spend it on something that won't matter 5 years from now. I once met a man who told me if only I had started 10 years ago. I looked at him and said, then start today so that 10 years from now, you're not saying the same thing, because the real tragedy isn't a lack of time. It's not using the time you have wisely. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent, background, or luck. It's how they use their time. Successful people make time for learning, for growth, for improving their skills. The unsuccessful, they make excuses. So here's the challenge. Start today. Pick up a book, find a mentor, attend a seminar, learn something new, value your time, protect it, and use it wisely, because the greatest regret in life isn't failing. It's realizing you had the time, but you didn't use it. Don't wait for the right time to start learning, growing, and changing. The right time is now. Most people live their lives focused only on what's in front of them. They wake up, go to work, pay the bills, and repeat the cycle, never stopping to ask if they're actually moving forward. They live small because they think small. Most people aim low because they fear missing the target. But if you want to achieve something extraordinary, you need a vision bigger than yourself, something that pulls you forward, gives your work meaning, your struggles purpose, and your sacrifices value. Because without a vision, you're just drifting. I remember a time when I had no vision. I was stuck in a job I didn't love, making just enough to get by, wondering why I wasn't moving forward. And I met someone who asked me a simple yet powerful question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I didn't have an answer. 5 years, I was too focused on just making it through the next 5 days. That's when I realized my biggest obstacle wasn't my job, my income, or my circumstances. It was my mindset. I had been living on autopilot, reacting to life instead of designing it. And until I had a clear vision for where I wanted to go, I was never going to get there. Look at the most successful people in the world. They're not just working for a paycheck. They're not simply going through the motions. They have a vision, a purpose that drives them. They see a future so compelling that it pushes them to do what others won't. Because here's the truth. When you have a vision, discipline becomes easier. Hard work doesn't feel like a burden. Obstacles don't stop you, they fuel you. But here's where most people get stuck. They dream, they plan, they talk about all the things they're going to do, but they never take action. Why? Because of fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of losing what they have. And that fear keeps them trapped. They play it safe, they avoid risk, they stay in their comfort zone. But here's something to consider. Everything you want in life exists just outside your comfort zone. I used to be afraid of taking risks. I worried about what people would think. What would happen if I failed, if I lost money, if I embarrassed myself? Then one day a mentor of mine said something that changed my perspective. You're afraid of failing, but have you ever considered the cost of staying the same? And that hit me because I realized that playing it safe wasn't actually safe at all. In fact, it was the riskiest thing I could do, staying in the same job, earning the same paycheck, living the same routine. Expecting life to magically change, that was a guaranteed way to stay stuck. The reality is, every successful person has taken risks. Successful people step into the unknown, face their fears, and move forward despite uncertainty, because they understand something most people don't. Fear never truly disappears. You don't eliminate fear by waiting. You don't overcome it by overthinking. The only way to conquer fear is by doing the very thing that scares you. I remember the first time I had to speak in front of a crowd, I was terrified. My hands were shaking, my heart was pounding, and every part of me wanted to run off that stage. But I did it anyway. And by the end of that speech, I realized something. Fear is a liar. It tells you you're not ready. It tells you you're not good enough. It convinces you to wait. But the truth is, confidence doesn't come from waiting. It comes from action. You don't wait until you feel ready. You take action, and in doing so, you become ready. Think about the people you admire, entrepreneurs, leaders, innovators. Do you think they never felt fear? Of course they did. But they pushed through. They understood that the temporary pain of failure is nothing compared to the lifelong pain of regret. So ask yourself, what's stopping you? What's the risk you've been avoiding? What's the fear holding you back? And more importantly, what's the cost of not taking action? Because one day you'll look back at your life and the risks you didn't take will hurt far more than the failures you experienced. You need a vision that excites you, a future that pulls you forward. And once you have that, you must be willing to take the leap. Because success doesn't come to those who wait, it comes to those who step into the unknown and go after it. Most people think wealth is about money. They believe that if they could just earn a little more, stack a little higher, and collect a little faster, they'd finally have it made. But wealth isn't about money. It's about freedom. The freedom to wake up in the morning and decide how you want to spend your day. The freedom to walk away from things that drain you. The freedom to take care of the people you love without checking your bank account first. Money is just a tool. It's the key that unlocks the door, but the real treasure is on the other side. I remember when I was struggling financially, I used to believe that if I could just make a few $100 extra a month, all my problems would be solved. And when I finally did, nothing changed. My lifestyle adjusted, my expenses grew, and before I knew it, I was right back where I started, just at a higher level. That's when I realized something. Wealth isn't about how much you earn. It's about how much control you have over your time, your choices, and your future. There are plenty of high earners who are still prisoners to their jobs, their debts, and their obligations. They wake up every morning with no choice but to push through another day, not because they love what they do, but because they have to. That's not wealth. That's just a paycheck. Real wealth is waking up and saying, I choose what I do today. It's the ability to spend time with your family, take care of your health, travel, create, give, and build something meaningful, not out of necessity, but out of desire. And that's the key, purpose. Because freedom without purpose is just another kind of emptiness. I've met people with millions in the bank, yet they're miserable. They spent their whole lives chasing money only to realize too late that wealth alone doesn't bring fulfillment. They have the house, the luxury cars, the status, but no joy, no health, and no meaningful relationships. That's not success. On the other hand, I've met people who don't flaunt their wealth, yet they are truly rich. They wake up excited about their work, not because they have to, but because they love to. They spend time with their family, not because their schedule allows it, but because they design their life that way. They have control, not just financially, but emotionally, physically, and spiritually. That is real wealth. The biggest mistake people make is thinking wealth starts with a number. They believe that hitting 6 figures, 7 or 8, will finally set them free. But wealth doesn't start in the bank, it starts in the mind. It begins with the decision to stop trading time for money and start building something bigger. It starts when you stop chasing short-term gains and start playing the long game. I once met a man who said, I want to be rich. I asked him why. He said, so I can quit my job. I told him, then you don't really want to be rich. You just want to escape. And that's what most people are looking for, an escape. But escaping isn't the answer. The answer is designing, creating a life where you don't have to run, where you are in control, where your time is yours. That's the real goal. So where do you start? You start by redefining wealth. You start by focusing not just on income, but on freedom, not just on earning, but on building, not just on spending, but on investing in your future, your health, your relationships, and your growth. Because if all you chase is money, you may end up rich, but you may never be free. The goal isn't just to make a living, it's to design a life. And that starts with understanding that wealth isn't about dollars and cents. It's about choices, freedom, and purpose. But most people spend their lives waiting for the right time, waiting for the right opportunity, waiting for the perfect set of circumstances. They tell themselves, I'll start when I have more money. I'll begin when I have more time. I'll take action when things settle down. But life doesn't wait. And before they know it, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and years turn into a lifetime of regret. The truth is there is no perfect moment. The stars will never align just right. The best time to start? It's now. Right now. I remember when I was just getting started, struggling, looking for a way to turn things around. I had all the excuses. I don't have the resources. I don't know the right people. I'm not ready yet. Then I met a man who had everything I wanted: success, wisdom, financial independence. I asked him, how did you do it? What's the secret? And he said, I stopped waiting. That was it. He didn't wait until he felt ready. He didn't wait for the fear to go away. He started where he was with what he had and figured the rest out along the way. That conversation changed my life. Think about it. Every great success story begins with someone who simply decided to start. They didn't have all the answers. They weren't fully prepared. They just took the first step. And that first step led to the next and the next until one day they looked back and realized they had built something extraordinary. But it all started with one decision to begin. Most people never take that first step because they're waiting to feel confident. They think they need to be fearless before they act. But here's what they don't realize. Confidence doesn't come before action. Confidence comes from action. The more you do something, the better you get. The better you get, the more confident you become. So if you're waiting to feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. I once met a young man who wanted to start a business. He had a great idea, a vision, and real passion for it. But every time we talked, he had a new excuse. I need to do more research. I need to save up a little more. I need to learn just a bit more before I start. A year later, he was still in the same place, still talking about what he was going to do. Meanwhile, someone else with fewer resources, less knowledge, and half his talent had already started. And guess what? That person was succeeding. Not because they had everything figured out, but because they took action while he was still waiting. Because waiting doesn't create progress. Action does. And action doesn't have to be big. It can be a small step, a phone call, a decision, a commitment. A small step taken today is more powerful than a big step planned for someday, because someday is not on the calendar. Think about the people who wish they had started sooner. The ones who look back and say, if only I had invested 10 years ago, if only I had started that business, if only I had taken that opportunity. The pain of regret is far worse than the discomfort of starting before you feel ready. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to start. Because the best time, it's not tomorrow, it's not next week, it's not someday. The best time to start is now. The choice is yours. Stay where you are, following the same patterns as the 97%, or break free and create the life you truly deserve. Wealth, success, and freedom aren't reserved for a lucky few. They belong to those who dare to think differently, take action, and refuse to settle. If you've ever felt like you were meant for more, this is your sign. Walk away from the mindset holding you back and step into the mindset that will change everything. The path to the top 3% starts now. Are you ready to take it?